Hey y'all, it's Kandi. Thanks for joining me today. I am doing something a little bit different here. I am going to do a bread recipe, and what I did is I asked ChatGPT to develop me a carnivore bread recipe. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try out this carnivore bread recipe that was developed for me by ChatGPT. I specifically asked for no meat in it and to use cottage cheese instead of like a chicken because I wanted a bread recipe that was not going to be overwhelmingly tasting like meat. So we are going to try this out and I will give you my honest opinion of what it tastes like when we're done. So this is what we're going to do. I've already started and pre-prepped a little bit. We are going to take a cup of cottage cheese, blended smooth, 6 eggs, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 stick of melted butter with salt, and 50 grams of shredded cheese. Now I'm just using a blend of Colby, cheddar, and Monterey. That is what I had in the fridge. You can use what you want, but this is what I have. So we are going to mix this all up and bake it at 350 for 45 to 55 minutes. I've already pre-melted the butter. So this is 1 stick of butter, which is also about 113 grams of melted butter. Into that, I am going to mix my 6 eggs. Okay, so I cracked the 6 eggs into the melted butter. Make sure when you melt your butter that it's not hot or it's going to cook the eggs. It's cooled off a bit, but still melted. So I'm just going to mix this in. So once our eggs and our butters mixed together thoroughly, we're going to add our blended cottage cheese. And as you can see, that is blended smooth. It kind of resembles sour cream at this point. This is a Sesame Street production, obviously. I am a Sesame Street chef. So again, this is 1 cup of blended cottage cheese and it weighed out at 250 grams. Originally, I was going to do it in a bread loaf lined with parchment paper, but it seems like it's kind of liquidy, so I am going to switch gears here and do it in my silicone bread loaf pan. Still at 350. I just don't want a big mess in my glass pan if it seeps underneath my parchment paper. So optional in this is 1 teaspoon of baking powder. It should make it rise just a little bit extra, but I'm going to leave that out and we're just going to do the half a teaspoon of salt now. And then the 50 grams of grated cheese. You're just going to mix it just so it's all mixed in there. And then we're going to pour it in our pan and bake it. Seems pretty easy. We are going to bake this and we're going to see how good AI is at creating a bread recipe. And I'll give you my honest opinion. So very, very liquidy loaf. Let's see if it tastes like bread or just tastes like an omelet. If you're going to use a silicone pan, make sure you put it on something that's pretty sturdy. That way it doesn't topple over when you put it in the oven. So now I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees, 45 to 55 minutes. And we will come back when the toothpick comes out clean and we're going to test it out. See you then. All right, y'all, my alarm just went off. 44 minutes. I tested it with a toothpick. It came out clean. This is what it looks like. My first thoughts it doesn't look like bread. It's a little bit jiggly, but the toothpick is clean, so we're gonna say it's good. So, to me, it kind of looks like an omelet loaf. We're gonna see how good AI is at creating a bread recipe. I kind of think they failed, but you know, who am I to judge? So they did tell me, ChatGPT did tell me to let this cool for 10 more minutes in the pan before I take it out and let it cool completely. I don't know how it's gonna stay together. That remains to be seen. It smells good, I know that. Stick around so we can see how it tastes. It has been 10 minutes and we're gonna take this out of the silicone pan. Let me tell y'all, it dropped next to nothing. That's a mini tiny loaf now, and heavy. I don't think AI understands what bread is, but who am I to judge? It's still very, very hot. So it says after 10 minutes to take it out and let it cool for the remainder of the time. If you can see that, it is oily, people. Like, that butter is oozing out. So it may very well be good. I don't even know how to get this out of here. See if I can just slide it. All right, so we got it out by sliding it. I think using the silicone pan was a good call on my part. So far it's very hot, too hot to eat. That is what it looks like. Very, very tiny. It's maybe, on this side, it's about 1.5 inches. On that side, it's about 1 inch. I am sure that it will taste good, but I'm also sure it's not going to be bread. All right, so we will come back when it's cooled off enough to taste, and I'll give you my honest opinion. We're going to cut into this and see how it is. So I'm just going to go right down the middle. I can tell you right now, this is not going to make a sandwich. I'll show you what the center looks like. Still hot and steamy. You know what this is? This is a Starbucks egg bite in a loaf, which I very well could be making again because I like those Starbucks egg bites. But for AI to tell me that this is bread, no. I can't even pick it up like a loaf. It's wet. So, we're gonna eat it with a fork. It is really good. Really good. I may be making my Starbucks egg bites like this because it's a lot easier than standing over the gadget that I had been using and doing several rounds of egg bites. Much easier in a loaf, and we can just cut it apart. Not all failures are failures, because I will make this again. Really good. It would be great if you're feeding a family and you want to do just something super simple. You could probably even make this up the night before and pour it in your baking dish the morning of and bake it. So totally carnivore. It does have some dairy in it, so if you're dairy free, you might want to avoid this recipe, but this is really good. You could put some bacon in it. I think next time I'll make this with bacon because that's going to be delicious. And we can eat this for the mornings that we go to work. I bet you would reheat really well. So thank you, AI, for giving me a not bread recipe, but a wonderful breakfast recipe. Breakfast casserole that's worth making. Well, thank you for joining me today for my recipe fail that turned out into a win. Hope to see you here next time, and until then, stop eating processed foods.